So we're going to now go ahead and do some more questions out of 2.5 here. And I just gave you a handout that I think will be a lot more helpful than writing it down every time. But this first one is what we've already went over. So before break, we did this one. You find an equation of a line when you're given a point and a slope. So what did we do? Well, we used our point slope formula, and then we either got our answer in standard form or in slope intercept form over here. Now we're going to look at the next page, which is finding the equation of a line when you're given 2 points. And so it has an extra step. And what we have to do is take those 2 points, we find our slope, and then we apply our point slope formula. And then we either write our answer in standard or in slope intercept form. So instead of having you write it down, I just photocopied it for you. So let's go ahead and do 2 of these. Let's find the equation. In standard form. And you're going to be given 2 points now. So let's say you're given the point 3, -5, and 7, +2. So we're going to try and apply that new flowchart. And we're going to use this one because what do we have? We have 2 points. Okay, there's 3 flowcharts. Each of them are a little bit different. But this one is when you're given 2 points. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take those 2 points and we're going to find the slope. Because we need to eventually use our point slope formula. And that has a point and a slope in it, so we need to get our slope first. And then either get it in standard or slope intercept form. So let's go ahead first and find the slope. And our formula is m equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. We label our ordered pairs again, x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug our values in, work it out, and find our slope. Watch out again for double negatives if you have them. The y's go in the numerator, so that's going to be a -5 minus 2 over 3 minus 7. And 5 minus 2, that's a -7. And 3 minus 7, that's a -4. Negative over negative makes it a +7/4. So we found our slope. So that's the first thing that we do when we have 2 points. We calculate that slope. Now, what is next? Well, we are right here. We found our slope, so what do? We use point slope. Okay? Pretty simple. As long as you follow these flow charts, you won't have any trouble with these. Just watch out for algebra mistakes and make sure you follow that flow chart. So now we're here. We're going to move to here. So now we use our point slope formula. And we're going to use our point slope formula with our m of 7/4. And we're going to use either of those ordered pairs. It doesn't matter which one. Usually I just use the first one, which is 3, -5. So we've got that. Write up our formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And again, x1, y1. Plug our values in and see what we're working with. Again, watch out for those double negatives if you have any. So we've got y minus a minus 5. That equals 7/4 times x minus 3. The double negative at that 5 makes it positive. And then we'll distribute that 7/4 through as well. So now we have y plus 5 here on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we've got 7/4 x. And 7 times a negative 3, well, that makes it a minus 21/4 there. So that's where we're at so far. Now, we do want this in standard form. So in standard form, can we have any fractions? Nope. So we're going to clear those out. And we do that by simply multiplying it all by 4. That's going to clear out all of our fractions. And that leaves us then with 4y plus 20 equals 7x minus 21. And we want it in standard form, so we need to get the x's and the y's on the same side. Numbers go on the right-hand side, so let's go ahead and move that 20 over with subtraction, and move that 7x over also with subtraction. That leaves us then with a minus 7x plus 4y equals, when we put those together, a minus 41. This is not quite in standard form. We need to make it in standard form. Has a negative in front, so we need to get rid of that. So we'll distribute a negative through. And that leaves us then with positive 7x minus 4y equals now a positive 41. So there's our answer. Now in standard form. Let's use that flow chart. We'll do another one here. And then we'll move on to the next flow chart. The last one we got in standard form, this one we're going to get in slope-intercept. Find that equation in slope-intercept form. And you're going to be given, again, 2 points. So 5, negative 1, and 8, 6. So we've got our 2 points again. So that means we use our second flow chart. And what do we need to do first? Well, we don't have a slope. We need a slope to use the point slope formula. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our slope m. And that is y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Label those ordered pairs, x1, y1, x2, and y2. Plug our values in. Watch out for double negatives if we have any. And so we've got minus 1 minus 6 over 5 minus 8. minus 1 minus 6, that's a minus 7. And 5 minus 8, that's a minus 3. Negative over negative makes it a positive 7/3 then. Now we've got a slope, and we can use either one of those points. It doesn't matter. I usually just use the first one. So let's go ahead and apply that first point there with our slope. So now we're going to use point slope. And that is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Our slope is that 7/3, and our point is that 5, negative 1. Label again, x1, y1. Plug in our values. And that's y minus, watch out for that double negative, so y minus minus 1 equals 7/3 times x minus 5. Double negative makes it a positive 1 here. And this one gets distributed through. So now we've got y plus 1 equals 7/3 x. And 7 times a negative 5, well, that's a negative 35 over 3. We want to get this, again, in slope-intercept form, and it's easier if we just clear out the fractions at the beginning. So let's multiply all the components by 3. And that leaves me then with 3y plus 3 equals 7x minus 35. We'll move that 3 over. And so 3y equals now 7x minus 38. We're almost finished. So we'll go ahead and divide this by 3 everywhere. And that leaves us then with y equaling now 7/3 x minus 38/3. And that is in slope-intercept form. Let's now look at a couple of applications. And all we have to do on these is find the ordered pairs, and usually they'll want the answer in slope-intercept form. So let's look at a couple of applications of these. Okay, let's look now at question 66, and this is on page 265. And we're going to look at question 66. Put this up on the screen here. So this is water pressure on a diver. And we know that as you go down further in depth, the pressure on the diver increases. Right? So that's why submarines can't go as deep as some others, because they're not built the same. They have to be able to withstand that pressure. So as the diver goes further down, then the pressure increases. And we want to figure out with an equation, if we put in the depth of that water, we want to figure out the pressure. So let's read this question and try to figure out what the components are, write our ordered pairs, and then get our answer in the correct form. So the pressure P of water on a diver's body is a linear function of the diver's depth, x. At the water surface, the pressure is 1 atmosphere. At a depth of 100 feet, the pressure is about 3.92 atmospheres. We want to find a linear function that relates P to X. Now, P is going to be our pressure, and that's going to be our Y. X is going to be the depth. So when we look at these ordered pairs, we've got X and Y here, and it says X is the depth, so Y is going to be the pressure. So X is going to be the depth, Y is going to be the pressure. Now, what do our ordered pairs look like? Well, when we start off, we are at sea level. So at a depth of 0 feet, that's the water surface, the pressure is 1 atmosphere. So we've got a depth of 0, our pressure is 1. The next ordered pair we're looking at is a depth of 100 feet. And at a depth of 100 feet, we have 3.92 atmospheres. So we now have our ordered pairs, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and work out our slope. M is y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. And again, label our ordered pairs, just like we did a moment ago. x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug our values in, and we get 1 minus that 3.92 over 0 minus 100. And by the way, this slope should be positive. Why? If we just think about it. Well, if we think about the pressure on a diver, as the diver goes deeper down in the water, what's going to happen to his pressure? It's going to go up, right? So our slope in this case should be positive, just from common sense. As you go down, the pressure on the diver goes up. And so what's going to happen here, when we work this out, we'll go ahead and find our slope. So we've got 1 minus that 3.92. So that's a minus 2.92. 0 minus 100, that's a minus 100. Double negatives makes it a positive value. And so we're going to go ahead and divide. And that comes out to be a 0.0292. And what does that mean? Well, that is our slope. So that means every foot we go down, we increase the pressure by this much. So that's what that means. That is the atmosphere is over the feet. So every foot we go down, we increase it by this many atmospheres. Now we do need to come up with our equation. We're not going to do part B. We're only going to do part A now. So only part A. Don't worry about part B. And they have you write it as P. We're going to use a Y. Same thing. So let's go ahead now and use our point slope formula. And that is Y minus Y1 equals M times X minus X1. And we're going to use that first ordered pair, which is 0, 1. And our slope is a small decimal here. It's 0.0292. So plugging our values in, so that's x1 and y1, just like we've done before. That's going to be y minus 1 equals 0.0292 times x minus 0. And this one's actually very easy to work through. Distribute that through. That 0 goes away, so we don't have to worry so much about that. And so that's going to be y minus 1 equals 0.0292 x. That 0 is gone, so we don't have to worry about that one. We'll add that 1 to each side. And we get our final answer in slope-intercept form, which is y equals 0.0292x plus 1. And part B is just having you plug values in. And you can write it with a y, or you can write it with a p. Or you could write this as p of x, because that's the same thing as y, 0.0292x plus 1. It's the same. And you can either use that p of x, because that represents your pressure, or you could write it as a y. It's the same thing. So either one will work. What could we do with this formula? Well, we could plug in the depth that that diver is going to go down, and that's going to give us our pressure. And that way we can figure out, okay, when he comes back up, we have to worry about the bends and things like that. You have to watch how fast he comes up, how much atmospheric pressure is on his body. If it's too much, you can't have him come up too fast, or else that creates the bends. So that's our equation there. And we're not going to do B, because part B just has you plug a number in. 67 is just reading a table and doing the same thing. Okay, so 67 is looking at consumption. And the Keynesian macroeconomic theory, total consumption, expenditure on goods and services, C, is assumed to be a linear function of the national personal income, I. The table gives you values of C and I for those years. What that's basically saying is the more money somebody has, the more they're going to spend, right? That's just how it is. You make more money, you spend more money. And that's Keynesian economics. So we're going to be looking at the consumption and the income. And what should happen? Well, as income goes up, what should happen to consumption? It should also go up, right? If income goes down, consumption goes down. So we want to find a formula for C as a function of I. So we want to find a formula that relates that consumption to the income. So we need to make sure that we get everything in the right order. Now it says C is a function of I. So I is going to be like the X. So X is going to be our income. Y is going to be the consumption. So we've got income and we've got consumption. And we know that as we increase one, the other one should do the same. So we need to come up with our ordered pairs. When it says find a formula for C as a function of I, that means C is the Y value, because that's your Y. And when it says a function of I, that means a function of I, that means I is going to be the X value. So we want to now figure out our formula. That way we can plug in an income and we can see what the consumption should be. So let's come up with our ordered pairs. What are our ordered pairs going to look like? Well, our ordered pairs are going to be income for the X, consumption for the Y. So we've got some years here. We're going to compare these values, and we've got 2013, and we've got 2017. And in 2013, our income was $14,495, and the consumption was $11,317. In 2017, we increased our income to $16,756, And our consumption increased also to 13,321. So find our slope, m, which is y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. And by the way, this is on page 265 again. And this is question number 67. Now, you've got it in your notes. We've got our ordered pairs made up, so we know what goes where. We're going to work it out, and we're going to find the slope. So let's go ahead and work this out. We've got 11,317 minus 13,321 over 14,495 minus 16,756. We'll work this out, and we'll round here, and we'll go ahead and round to the nearest cent because we're working with money. So when we work this out, we'll just round to 2 places. That should be enough if we need to. So let's see what we've got. We've got 11,317 minus 13,321. That's a minus 2004. Down below, we've got 14,495 minus 16,756. That gives you a minus 2261. We'll divide those out. And that comes out to be a positive 0. If we round 89. That's going to be close enough. We could take it out further, but I think for our case, that's going to be close enough for us. You could take it out further if you wanted to, but 2 places I think is going to be enough for us. And what does that mean? Well, that means basically for every dollar that we have, we spend 89 cents of that dollar. So every dollar we make, we spend 89 cents of it. So we basically save 11 cents. We spend 89 cents. We've got our slope, and let's use that with our point. So now we're going to use point slope. And that's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We're going to use that slope of the 0.89, and we use our first ordered pair, which is 14,495 and 11,317. Plug our values in, so that's going to be y minus 11,317 equals 0.89 times x minus 14,495. Distribute through, and then we'll get our equation. And we can again go ahead and round this to 2 places. If we want to on our b, our y-intercept, we could round that to 1 because it's not going to be exactly precise. Economics is one of those things of we can predict things, but it's not totally concrete. So we'll work it out and we'll get our formula. But again, when we look at that b, that number on the end, well, we can just round that to the nearest whole number because that's going to be close enough for us. So we've got y minus 11,317 equals 0.89x minus, and we're going to go ahead and distribute through, and we'll just round that to the nearest whole number. It's going to be close enough. And if we round out, that looks like 12,000. If we round 901. And we'll go ahead and add that 11,317 to both sides. And then we've got our function of y. So that is y equals now 0.89x minus 1584. And you could leave it like that, or you can write it with the I and the C. And you could write this if you wanted to be, now, your consumption, C, is going to equal 0.89I minus that 1584. So either one would work. If you wanted to use the C and the I, you could do that. If you wanted to just leave it as Y equals, that's the same. But what that's saying is I can put in the income of that person or of that nation, because this is a macroeconomics thing. So you put in the average income of that nation into this formula, and then you can figure out, well, how much should they be consuming? And so that's what that's used for. And economics is one of those things of, you come up with these formulas, and there's a lot of giveaway because a lot of different things can happen. But this is just an idea of, okay, if this country has this much for their income per person, then they should be consuming this much. That's what it says. And the more income they have per person, the more they're going to consume per person. And there's your formula to relate them to that. Okay. All right. Well, I don't think we'll have enough time to do the last page of that flow chart, so we'll have to do that next class period. We're kind of running out of time here. So let's talk about our homework and what we can do. So for our homework, you should be able to finish up now 2.3. We covered all of that. We covered 2.4. We did all of those. And 2.5, we did most of them. But 2.5, you should be able to do, let's see, 1 through 6. And then you can also work through 9 and 10. We'll do the 7 and 8 next time, because we just didn't have enough time to really talk about parallel and perpendicular numbers. And we can't do 3. Yep, so you can't do 3 either. So you can do, let me rewrite this, it looks right here. You can do, sorry about that, you can do 1 through 2. I'll just write out 1, you can do 2, you can do that one. You can't do 3 yet. You should be able to do 4, 5, and 6. And we'll do 7 and 8 next time. And you should be able to do 9 and 10 as well. Okay, so that's going to be your homework for next week. And next week, we'll be able to finish up 2.5.